Reading or listening to these words, understand this clearly. It is not by coincidence. The universe does not waste its energy arranging empty meetings. You were not led here by chance. You are here because your spirit, in its quiet search, asked for direction. You are here because the wisdom of your ancestors has prepared you for this moment, and you are standing at the edge of something ancient that is returning. June 25, 2025 is not just a date marked on a calendar. It is a gateway, a vibration, a divine invitation. And only those who have begun to awaken from the illusion of randomness can sense the weight that this day carries. The world may continue to rush, to distract, to chase shadows in glass screens and plastic lights, but those with stillness in their hearts can already feel it. Something is aligning, something is forming, and it is not outside of you, it is moving through you. In the Shaolin way, we do not look at life as a collection of disconnected events. We see life as one continuous breath. And within this breath, there are pauses, sacred pauses, where the air seems to stop. And in that silence, a decision is made. Not by your mind, not by your desires, but by the deepest self. The part of you that is eternal. The part of you that remembers why you came. June 25 is such a pause. It is a divine alignment, a sacred pause in the flow of time when the higher realms lean closer to the human heart and those who are prepared can receive instruction. This instruction may not come in words, it may not come in dreams, it may come as a sudden stillness, a clarity, a tear without reason, or a fire in the chest that tells you now. What must change is not out there in the world. What must change is in here, in the way you look, in the way you breathe, in the way you carry silence inside noise. There will be many people who will pass through that day as if it were any other day. They will wake, check their phones, complain about things they do not wish to fix, chase desires they do not understand, and fall asleep again. Not just into dreams, but into forgetfulness. And that is fine. Everyone is walking their own path. But you, the one who is hearing this, something in you is not satisfied with forgetting. Something in you is tired of sleepwalking. Something in you wants to remember. And that remembrance is the key. It is the vibration that will unlock the message of June 25. God does not speak to the ego. The ego is too loud, too proud, too restless. God whispers to the soul. And the soul only hears when the body has been calmed, when the emotions have been tamed, when the mind has been humbled. In the monastery, we train for years not to become strong fighters, but to become clear listeners. Because everything needed is already here. The divine is not hiding. It is not far away. It is waiting. Waiting for you to become quiet enough to receive. You may ask, what is it that will change? The better question is, what have you been delaying? What truth have you been ignoring? What habit have you been protecting because it hides your fear? What relationship have you been maintaining even though it drains your spirit? What voice inside you have you been silencing because it tells you to rise when rising feels uncomfortable? The change is not random. The change is not punishment. It is a mirror being held up to your soul. It is lies saying, this is who you really are. Are you ready to return? This is the test that comes before transformation. To be shown the truth and not look away. It is easy to pretend when the truth is distant. But when it stands before you, silent, unmoving, impossible to avoid, that is when your strength is revealed. The change that God brings on this day is not about destroying what is good. It is about exposing what is fake. It is about cracking the mask. The old structures within you, the lies, the fears, the borrowed beliefs, they must collapse if you are to rise. This is why you feel the pressure. This is why you feel something stirring even before the day arrives. Because your spirit knows. And the spirit cannot lie. It can be silenced, yes. It can be buried under distractions, yes. But it cannot lie. So if you feel anxious, if you feel restless, if you feel like something is moving that you cannot name, Good. That is the signal, that is the beginning of awareness. That is the soul knocking from inside the prison, asking to be released. The warrior does not wait for the battlefield to begin training. He sharpens his sword in silence. He strengthens his breath before the wind arrives. And you too must prepare, not with fear, but with attention. Look at your life with clarity. What is true? What is false? What is essential? What is excessive? Simplify, clarify, purify. Because when the energy of that day arrives, you will either rise with it or be overwhelmed by it. And that decision is made now, not later, now. There are no coincidences. There are only appointments in disguise. This is one of them. Perhaps you thought you were just scrolling. Perhaps you thought you were just curious, but no. Your spirit brought you here because it recognized the call. And now you must respond, not with grand gestures, but with presence. Clean your space, light a candle, breathe deeply, return to your discipline, not because something external demands it, but because something eternal within you is awakening. You are not late, you are right on time, but time will not wait. There are certain gates in life that open only once. If you are not ready, the gate closes, and you must walk the longer path. This is not punishment, this is rhythm, this is law. Just as the moon does not wait for you to notice its fullness, the gate does not delay its opening for your comfort. But if you are present, if you are aligned, if you are clean in spirit and still in heart, the gate will open and you will pass through. That is what June 25 offers. A gate, a passage from the life you are living into the life you were meant for. But the key is stillness. The key is inner quiet. The key is trust. God has never stopped speaking. The problem is we have stopped listening. We are addicted to noise, to validation, to urgency. But truth does not compete with noise. It waits in silence. It does not argue with lies. It simply exists patiently until we are humble enough to kneel before it. Kneeling is not weakness. In the Shaolin tradition, kneeling is strength. It is the ego surrendering. It is the mind bowing to the spirit. On June 25, the world will offer you many distractions. But within those distractions, there will be an opening, a silence. And in that silence, a voice. It will not shout. It will not beg. It will simply say, now. Oh, you remember. Now you choose. Now you rise. The warrior who is ready does not need more information. He needs alignment. You already know what must go. You already know what must begin. This day is not the source of your power. It is the signal to use the power you already have. And that is why it is sacred. Because it reminds you, you were never asleep. You are only waiting for the right moment to return. There are moments in life when the winds of energy shift. These moments are not created by man, nor are they moved by ambition or will. They are ancient currents, woven into the rhythm of existence, pulsing through time with perfect timing. These shifts do not arrive by accident. They are pointed by the higher order, the divine structure that governs all things, seen and unseen. June 25, 2025 is one of those days, not an ordinary moment, but a turning of the current. And when the energy shifts, everything that is not anchored in truth will be shaken. The weak foundations will crumble. But the strong, the steady, the prepared, they will rise. Rising is not a matter of luck. It is not something that happens simply because the wind is blowing in your favor. A tree does not become tall because the sun is warm. It becomes tall because it has roots that go deep. In the same way, the person who rises during a spiritual shift is not the one who prays only in times of crisis, but the one who trained in silence when no one was watching. The one who chose stillness over noise. Presence over distraction, discipline over comfort. This is the way of the warrior. This is the way of the monk. In the monastery, discipline is not taught as something rigid or punishing. Discipline is love. It is the love of one's future self. It is the expression of commitment to something higher. The disciplined person is not hard, they are awake, they are prepared. They do not wait for the rain to fall before building shelter. They do not wait for the test to begin before studying the truth. And when the energy changes, they do not panic. They recognize it, they nod to it, they adjust their breath, and they rise. But those who are not prepared, who have lived only by reaction and not by intention, will feel this day differently. To them, it will feel like chaos, confusion, maybe even loss. This is not because the energy is punishing them. It is because their inner world was not in order when the outer world began to shift. You see, the external reflects the internal. When everything outside changes, it is not the change that hurts, it is our resistance to it. It is our attachment to what was, our clinging to the familiar. But the disciplined soul, the awakened soul, is not afraid of letting go because he has practiced detachment. He has practiced surrender. He has trained to meet the unknown with grace. You do not need to predict what will happen on June 25. You do not need to know the shape of the change. What you need is preparation. What you need is to return to your practice. Look at your life. How have you been living? Where have you allowed your mind to become scattered? Where have you let your emotions lead you like a puppet? And most importantly, where have you forgotten who you truly are? These are the questions that must be faced before the day comes. Because if you are not centered when the storm arrives, you will spin, you will fall into the noise. But if you are grounded, deeply, truly grounded, you will feel the wind and simply shift your stance. You will not be broken, you will adapt, you will flow, and you will rise. This is the essence of all true training. It is not about becoming harder, it is about becoming clearer. You are not preparing for a battle of the body, you are preparing for a moment of truth. The battle is internal. Can you hold your center when the energy moves? Can you stay true when everything asks you to betray yourself? Can you remember your path when the world forgets its own? These are not questions that can be answered with words. They are answered through action, through daily ritual, through how you live when no one is watching. This is the discipline I speak of, the silent discipline, the invisible strength, the kind that cannot be bought or borrowed. It must be earned. It must be cultivated like a seed watered every day without seeing results for a long time. But then one day the seed sprouts. One day when others are looking for shade, your tree will be standing, not because you are lucky, but because you are loyal. Loyal to your practice, loyal to your inner teacher, loyal to the path. So many want the reward without the ritual. They want the change without the preparation. They want to rise when the energy shifts, but they have not done the inner work to stabilize themselves. This is not how nature works. You cannot harvest what you did not plant. And June 25 will ask you one simple question. What have you planted? What have you prepared for? What have you silently built while the world was asleep? And maybe you hear this now and you feel regret. Maybe you think it is too late to prepare, but it is not. If you are hearing these words now, it means time is still on your side. It means you have breath, you have space, you have a choice. The way forward is simple. Begin again. Begin now. Do not look back. Do not wait for motivation to come. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Begin with what you have. Begin with your breath. Begin with your awareness. This is how all warriors begin. Not with glory, but with sincerity. Not with perfection, but with humility. The energy that is coming is not good or bad, it simply is. A wave is not evil because it crashes against the rocks. A storm is not cruel because it clears the land. These are forces. They move as they are meant to. And when the spiritual current rises, you must rise with it, or you will be swept away by it. The way you rise is by preparing now. Do not waste time asking what others are doing. Do not measure your growth by someone else's pace. You are on your path. You have your lessons. And the divine has not forgotten you. Every effort you make in silence is seen by the unseen world. Every morning you rise early to meditate. Every moment you breathe before reacting. Every temptation you resist not out of fear, but out of alignment. These small choices, these are the bricks of your inner temple. When the energy changes, your temple will either stand or it will fall. The outcome depends on your devotion. If you are waiting for a sign, this is the sign. The gate is opening, the shift is coming, but not for everyone. It will only reveal itself to those who are aligned. And alignment is not a costume. It is not a performance. It is not a look. It is a way of living. It is the way you walk through your day, the way you speak, the way you keep your word even when no one is watching. These are the marks of one who is prepared. And on the day of change, preparation is everything. 5 to 2025 is not here to scare you, it is here to elevate you. But only if you are ready, only if you are awake, only if you are disciplined, not with harshness, but with reverence. The energy shift is not coming to punish, it is coming to reveal. And when the wind blows, the unprepared will blame the wind, but the prepared will say it. This is your reminder, become the one who rises when the current changes. Not because of ego, but because of devotion. Not for power, but for purpose. Not to escape the world, but to serve it. You are not here to be passive. You are here to awaken. And awakening does not happen by accident. It happens through inner alignment and outer discipline. This is your moment to choose, and if you choose wisely, you will not fear the coming shift. You will walk through it with clarity, with stillness, and with strength. On the journey of life, we often think that holding on is strength, that to cling tightly to what we have, to keep people close no matter the cost, to maintain patterns and identities even when they weigh heavy upon the soul, that this is loyalty, that this is virtue. But there is a deeper truth, one that does not come from the surface of things but from the root of understanding. What you refuse to release will be taken from you, not because God is cruel, not because the universe seeks to punish, but because that which is no longer aligned must be removed for your evolution to continue. If it stays, it will rot. And if you cling to the rotting, the decay will spread through your spirit, and the cost will be your peace. June 25, 2025 is not merely a date. It is a sacred intersection between time and truth. On this day, what you have avoided will confront you. What you have protected with excuses will stand exposed. What you have attached yourself to out of fear will begin to pull away. And the question is not whether this will happen. The question is how you will respond when it does. Will you cry over the loss of what was decaying, or will you recognize the hand of the divine pruning your soul for new life? Everything that is not in alignment with your higher purpose must leave. Everything that is not rooted in sincerity, in integrity, in truth, it cannot remain. And so many of us, we pray for change, we ask for growth, but we are unwilling to pay the price. And the price is almost always release. Not just of people, not just of jobs or environments, but of ideas, attachments, beliefs that were never yours to carry, the image of who you thought you had to be, the identity that kept you safe but also kept you small. These things must go. When the spiritual energy shifts, the gravitational pull of false things begins to weaken. You will feel it in your relationships. Conversations that once felt comforting may now feel empty. Faces that once brought joy may now bring heaviness. Desires that once drove you may suddenly vanish. This is not failure. This is not confusion. This is clarity. This is grace disguised as discomfort. And you must be willing to trust this process, to not resist what is leaving, to not mourn what you have outgrown. If you do not release it willingly, it will be taken. And if it is taken while your hands still grip it tightly, the separation will feel like suffering. But if you can see it for what it truly is, a clearing, a sacred removal, you will begin to thank life even for the losses This is the maturity of the soul, to know that not everything you lose is punishment. Sometimes it is preparation, sometimes it is protection, sometimes it is simply the universe answering a prayer you forgot you made. You must look around your life and be honest. What are you clinging to that you know is already dead? What are you feeding energy into, even though it drains you in return? What cycles are you trapped in, repeating again and again, because you fear the unknown? Understand this. The unknown is not your enemy. Your real enemy is comfort disguised as peace. It keeps you warm, yes, but it also keeps you numb, and a numb soul cannot awaken. So life will do what you are afraid to do. Life will remove it. God will allow the collapse not to destroy you, but to cleanse you. Because there are things you have been carrying that do not belong in the next chapter of your journey. You cannot ascend if your heart is full of anchors. You cannot rise if your arms are clinging to the old. And when the day comes, when the wind changes direction and the current pulls away from the shore, you must be light. You must be free. Or you will drown in your own resistance. And I say this not with judgment, but with compassion, because I too have had to learn to let go. I have watched things I loved disappear. I have felt the tearing of ego as attachments were stripped away. I have walked the path of solitude when I wanted companionship, but every time, without fail, what came next was greater. Not greater in comfort, greater in alignment, greater in purpose, greater in truth. It is easy to think that if something hurts, it must be wrong, but pain is not always a warning. Sometimes it is a sign that you are breaking free from something that was never meant to stay. Like a tight rope around the wrist, when it is finally cut, the first feeling is not relief, it is soreness, the mark of what was. But after that soreness fades, the blood flows again, the hand opens again, the spirit breathes again. This is what release does. It does not kill, it restores. So, as this day approaches, begin to look gently, honestly at your life. Ask yourself not what you want to keep. Ask instead, what am I afraid to let go of? That is your clue, that is your teacher. Because behind that fear is your freedom. Behind that resistance is your rebirth. And yes, there may be grief, but understand, grief is sacred. Grief is not a punishment. It is the heart-clearing space for what is to come. The fire burns not to hurt you, but to purify. Do not fear the fire. Do not run from the removal. Do not mourn the falling leaves, because they are clearing the branches for new fruit. Let the season change. Let the divine gardener do his work, and trust that what is removed was never meant to define you. In the Shaolin path, we train not only to build strength, but to dissolve illusion, to pierce through the stories we tell ourselves. And the most dangerous story is this: if I lose this, I will be nothing. No, you are not your possessions, you are not your past, you are not your relationships, you are not even your reputation. You are the awareness behind all of it. You are the one who remains when all else falls away. On June 25, something will fall away. For each person, it may look different. A lie, a pattern, a false identity, maybe even a connection. But whatever it is, do not hold on. Bless it, release it, thank it for its lesson, and let it go. You are not losing, you are shedding. You are not being punished, you are being initiated into a deeper truth, a higher alignment, a clearer path. Let this be your practice in the days leading up. Practice release. Practice loosening your grip. Practice silence, patience, observation. When you feel tension, ask what you're afraid to lose. When you feel anger, ask what you're still protecting. When you feel sadness, ask what's trying to leave. And when you feel peace, even if only for a second, sit with it. That peace is your compass. That peace is your home. You cannot take everything with you. And the truth is, you don't need to. The soul knows how to travel light. It is the mind that insists on carrying everything. But this time, let the soul lead. Let the higher voice speak. Let the divine have its way. Release is not weakness. It is sacred trust. Trust that what leaves is clearing the way for something greater. Trust that what falls is making room for what flies. Trust that even the absence is holy. Let go and rise. A warrior does not wait for the world to recognize him. He does not seek applause for his discipline. He does not announce his strength. A true warrior moves in silence, trains in solitude, and stands in stillness when others run in chaos. This is the way of the silent warrior. And when the time of testing arrives, when the wind of spiritual energy rises and the gate of change swings open, it is not the loud who pass through. It is not the ones who cry out the most, who display their rituals, or who boast of how awake they are. It is the silent ones. The ones who walk with humility, the ones who chose devotion when no one was looking, the ones whose strength was forged in unseen battles. June 25, 2025 is not a date for noise. It is not a time to perform. It is a threshold, a moment when the inner world is measured not by words, but by vibration. And the gate that opens on this day is not visible to the eye. It is opened by alignment. It is opened by readiness. It is opened by silence. You must understand this deeply. There are levels of strength that cannot be demonstrated through muscle or intellect. There is a strength that comes only from stillness, the strength of someone who has faced themselves and did not look away, the strength of someone who has walked through confusion without abandoning their discipline, the strength of someone who has heard the voice of ego rise up, loud and convincing, and has chosen instead to listen to the softer, quieter voice of truth. That is the strength of the silent warrior. That is the one who will not only survive the coming shift, but rise because of it. Many will feel something on that day, an unease, a sense of being pulled towards something unknown. Some will ignore it, some will drown it in distraction, but a few will know exactly what it is, because they've been preparing for it, even if they didn't know the date. Their spirit recognized this appointment long before the mind could name it.